Hello and welcome to the Blorecast, your regular serving of aural entertainment with me, James Blore. Today, we're going to take a little tour of Slovakia's obsession with pigs, the pork, the traditions, and the wild boars. When I first came to Slovakia, I shared a flat with another English teacher called Anna, who made me feel extremely welcome. Hello, Anna, if you're listening. Anna was a vegetarian, and this was a bit of a problem in Humenné in 1998. Just sure, as I mentioned previously, there is a whole section in restaurant menus for flour-based foods, which are essentially meat-free. But I can see how a person might grow tired of always having halushki, sheep's cheese gnocchi, or pierogi, dumplings filled with potato and sheep's cheese. Not to mention the fact that these dishes are invariably covered with small pieces of fried smoked bacon. I vividly remember one occasion when we chose to dine in Humenné's fanciest restaurant at that time, the Modrý Kotsur, or Blue Tomcat. I happily ordered something like chicken cordon bleu, or gordon bleu, as the menu would have it, a breaded chicken schnitzel filled with ham and cheese. Anna obviously had a more difficult time, but eventually elected to have a side dish as her main, steamed broccoli with a cheese sauce. A fairly safe choice, you would have thought. Of course, when the plates came, her broccoli was covered not only with cheese sauce, but also copious amounts of bacon. I think she put a brave face on it and picked them off. As I've mentioned previously, pig products are a mainstay of Slovak cuisine. There are regular pork schnitzels, of course, and the delicious Chernohorsky schnitzels from episode 3. Then there's goulash, or goulash, as we say, either a soup or a stew with chunks of pork and lots of paprika. Segedinsky goulash, meanwhile, is a sauerkraut and pork stew, usually served with slices of knedla, a steamed bread dumpling which I somehow failed to mention in the carbs episode. And then there are loads of other dishes made with pork chops, bravčové kare, or pork tenderloin, bravčové panenka. Not to mention cabbage leaves or peppers stuffed with minced pork and rice. Last but not least, we have the charcuterie. Slovak sausages, or klobásy, tend to be very meaty compared to their English brethren, and heavily flavoured with paprika and garlic. Frankfurters, or parky, so named because they come in pairs, are a breakfast favourite with mustard. There's loads of different hams and salamis, and a special place is reserved in Slovak hearts for bacon, or Slanina. British bacon comes in two main forms, back and streaky, and may be smoked or unsmoked. Both are fairly thin cut. Streaky has lots of fat and comes from the pig's belly, while my favourite, back bacon, has a larger, more meaty part from the loin of the pig, and a bit of streaky attached to it. Slovaks don't really do back bacon. The loins are typically turned into pork chops or ham or cut up for stew. Slovak slanina comes as a solid block, which you can almost imagine still stuck to the pig's belly. It's sold in chunks rather than slices, each of which is largely fat with perhaps 3 Adidas stripes of meat. Some people eat it raw, it's always smoked in my experience, but I prefer it cut into little pieces and fried and served on something else. So, Slovaks love their pigs, but their wilder cousins have a darker reputation. If pigs are like Jedi, then wild boar are the Sith. Or something. If you believe some Slovaks, there's a boar hiding behind every bush in the forest waiting to disembowel you, or gore your dog at the very least. Indeed, it does seem that their populations are increasing, or at least they are visiting towns more often. I'll share a video in the links of a family of them using a pedestrian crossing near my school in Košice, and another individual hooning up a street in the centre of Bratislava. The adults are certainly fearsome creatures. They're extremely powerfully built and can definitely shift when the mood takes them. But I'm not convinced the risk is that high, assuming you don't let your dog off the lead in spring when they have little ones to defend. I came across a family of boar ahead of me in the forest once, and, not wanting to turn back, I just made a lot of noise and waited for them to go on their own way, which they did. My mate Gavin, who spends far more time in boar-infested forests than I, has come across them multiple times and survived to tell the tale. I think back away was his sage advice. There is a saying that the plural of anecdote is not data. Multiple personal stories do not constitute a statistically valid data set. But the actual data seems to agree. Slovak statistics are scarce, but one worldwide study suggests an average of about 9 boar attack deaths per year. in the whole world. This compares with 16 deaths in 2020 from tick-borne encephalitis just in Europe, according to the annual report of the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control. So give the boars and the bears a break, I say. On the whole, though, the Slovak relationship with pigs is very positive and seems much deeper than the one British people have with our porcine friends. In 2008, the UK's Channel 4 TV station broadcast another season of the long-running River Cottage series, starring the improbably named Hugh Christopher Edmund Fernley Whittingstall. Aside from having a name so posh that you'd be forgiven for thinking it was made up, Hugh is a chef, food writer and small-scale farmer who is very passionate about locally grown ingredients and who makes very entertaining TV programmes. This particular series shows him using homegrown produce in recipes and also tracks a group of families in Bristol who attempt to convert a piece of wasteland near the city centre into an urban farm, where they grow fruit and veg and raise pigs and chickens. I just had a quick Google and it seems to be still open to visitors if you're in the area. The reason I mention this is that, while I think this is a great idea, I simply can't imagine such a programme being made in Slovakia, even today. The thing which makes such projects possible and desirable in the UK is the complete and utter disconnect between British people and their agricultural past. I'll talk more about that next episode, but basically I doubt you'd find too many people in the UK, other than actual farmers, whose family have raised livestock within living memory. Slovakia, in contrast, is still very much of the earth. There's a sign I love next to the road in a village on the way to visit my parents-in-law which reads, Predaj oshipanich, pigs for sale. And I reckon the majority of people don't have to go more than a couple of generations back to find someone in their family who kept livestock at home. Many people I've met here remember pigs, goats, rabbits or chickens from their childhood, and some more recently still. When I first came to Slovakia, my wife's family, who live in a village near Humenné, had a goat and a pig, and I very clearly remember the first time I went to a zabíjačka, or pig slaughter. While this tradition does seem to be fading out these days, raising a pig at home to be slaughtered in the autumn was very much still a thing at the beginning of the century. The story I'm about to relate is not intended to provoke or disgust, but rather to express my respect for the craftsmanship involved and my appreciation for being able to witness it. That said, if you're squeamish, you might want to skip forward a couple of minutes, or if you're on YouTube, until you see me making the happy pig face. I'm very much a lover of processes, and was very keen to see the whole thing from start to finish. Unfortunately, as I was pulling my shoes on at dawn, I heard a squeal and a bang, and by the time I got outside, the still steaming blood had been drained into a large wooden trough called a corito. I'll spare you further details, but there was some burning of hair with a blowtorch, some scrubbing, plenty of slivovitz, and lots of expert butchering. The end result is a lot of pork, as well as other slaughter delicacies, as ChatGPT would have it, such as blood sausage, or jaternice, and pork crackling, or skvarki, and possibly a football made from the inflated pig's bladder. So there you go, more pork talk than you ever thought possible. Are you a pig fan? Do you have a favourite dish? Is Slovak vegetarian food more varied than it was 20 years ago? Do you live in mortal fear of wild boars? Please do get in touch. I'll put all the links in the description. Website, email, YouTube, Facebook. Pick your favourite and say hi. Thanks so much for joining me. Please like, subscribe, share and do all those good things. I'm James Blore and this has been the Blorecast. See you again soon. Bye-bye.